Being Puppycat is a series that is imbued with foreshadowing and small details that, when properly examined, help make the entire universe feel more rich and gives you an idea of the overall direction the story is going. Today, we're going to be looking at some of those little details and counting down the top 10 theories that spring up from them along the way. Theory 1. What exactly are those dark hands at the end of Season 1? Being Puppycat was a show that ran on a premise as opposed to a conflict. At its core, it's just about two friends trying to make enough money to pay their rent at the end of the month, doing little jobs here and there. But along the way, the show has begun to weave a bigger story about the universe that Bee and Puppycat are a part of. In the final episode, their temp workspace was destroyed entirely by these dark hands that came out of the black hole at its very center. No explanation was given to what had happened, and I believe that this is because it's supposed to be a mystery to the characters in the show as well, with answers coming to us as the series continues to unfold. The series has had a lot of talk about space travel, but the only ones we ever actually see using it are temp workers such as Bee and Puppycat, and then of course this dark hole that seems to send donuts across the universe. I personally believe that the hands, whatever they are and wherever they come from, are a force trying to stop the various planets in the universe from becoming connected, for whatever reason they are trying to stop it. I think that this may be why Puppycat was considered a space pirate or an outlaw back before he transformed, because such travel might have been forbidden by the Space King. As the series progresses, I expect them to reveal these to be the actual villains of the show that Bee and Puppycat will ultimately have to fight towards the end. Theory 2. The Space Princess did not betray Puppycat, but his shipmate did. In the pilot of the series, we saw that Puppycat used to be a space pirate who fell in love with the Space Princess. They intended to run away together and get married, but when he went to their secret meeting place, he was ambushed by wizards that turned him into Puppycat. Puppycat believes that he was betrayed by the princess, and most fans believe that she was innocent, but that her father simply found out about their plan on his own. One big reason for this is the art style in which the story is told. It is very similar to the show Revolutionary Girl Utena, which also presented a story using this art style, which was later revealed to not be entirely true. Another show, Steven Universe, also featured a flashback story using this art style that also turned out not to be true, with a big twist waiting for the characters on the other side of it. I do think that Puppycat was betrayed, but based on this evidence, I think it might have not been by the Space Princess, but rather someone even closer to him. In behind-the-scene artworks featuring the space pirate, we see that there's a lot more of the story to tell, and the artwork also featured a lot of this other alien girl who appears to live in the same ship as Puppycat. She seems to get along with both him and the Space Princess, but the Space Princess does seem a bit uncomfortable around her, and she seems to have a very smug and suspicious smile in return. It's a distinct possibility that this lady pirate was also in love with Puppycat, or even the Space Princess. When she found out they were going to elope, she reported the news to the king to stop it from happening, and she ended up ruining all of their relationships because of her jealousy. Theory 3. Did Bee's dad know Puppycat? In the same artwork that we see that Puppycat had another space pirate on his team, we also see a little boy that greatly resembles Bee's dad in terms of his hair. He appears in two different photos with Puppycat and his partner, and seems to grow considerably from one picture to the next, implying he was with them for some time. Because his design is more human, while theirs is alien, I don't think he was their child, but perhaps he was just a lost kid wandering space who got picked up by the space crew. It would explain how he knows so much about the advanced mechanics, considering Earth doesn't seem to be very far developed. It would also explain why Puppycat seems to know a lot more about Bee than he lets on, and perhaps he even saw her when she was just a baby. Theory 4. Why are Deckard, Cass, and their siblings named after wizards? While Deckard and Cass are named after wizards, they also have a lot of unnamed brothers who had their identities revealed in production artwork. As the two said in the show, they are all named after wizards for some reason, but I don't think the connection ends there. Even their house is decorated with some fantasy elements involved. What if these characters are actually the reincarnations of famous wizards from throughout history, or at the very least come from a long line of wizards themselves? Theory 5. How will Puppycat turn human again? This theory builds upon the last one because we know that it was the space wizards that actually turned Puppycat into the form he has now. If it is true that the wizard family are actually a family of wizards, then they could reverse the magic that turned Puppycat into what he is at the end of the story. Season 2 seems to feature the Wizard brothers a lot more heavily, and I think along the way in the series, they could discover that they have magic powers, and ultimately be the ones to restore Puppycat to his former glory. Theory 6. How will Cardamon's mother wake up? Cardamon is a kid who believes in fairy tales, even one such as a prince being able to wake up a sleeping princess. This would be far-fetched to the people around him, but we as an audience know that a lot of strange things exist in this universe, possibly even magic. If the wizard family could turn Puppycat back, and if he does realize that the space princess didn't betray him, he might end up marrying her in the end. And if he does, that would make him a prince, even if the king doesn't approve of this. With whatever power that gives him, he could be the one to wake up Cardamon's mother. It would be an interesting twist to see that waking up a princess doesn't mean that you have to marry her, but rather it is just a magic ability he would now have. Theory 7. Toast is in love with Cass. Toast seems to be determined to keep Cass in her life by challenging her to a fight, but her motives don't make a lot of sense to me. She wants her there so that she won't have to be the worst wrestler in her league, but she could always challenge the person above her instead of Cass, who she already believes herself to be stronger than. Instead, I think it's possible that Toast actually has feelings for Cass, and this is her way of staying close to her. In the episode she is introduced in, she goes on a rant while fighting Cass, one that indicates that she is attracted to other women, as she goes on about how she will complain to Cass about her ex-wife. It is possible that she was quoting some of the drunks she learned wrestling moves from, as implied by the stories surrounding this outburst, but when you look at all this artwork about Toast and Cass, it seems like there is some tension there, at least on Toast's side. Theory number 8. What is Bee's dad's name? Bee has an odd name, and what's interesting is that she includes references to it in her clothing, such as her sweater having the image of a bee on it. With that logic in mind, we could possibly find out what her father's name is as well. In this artwork, for instance, we can see he has a rabbit on his jacket, so maybe his name is Rabbit. Another possibility is that his name is Bird. In the episode, Game, Bee can choose to look different for a video game mission they have, and when she clicks on the male avatar, one that looks a lot like her dad, her Bee turns into a bird, perhaps signifying a name change as well. Theory 9. Did Cass help program Bee? Cass is shown to be a programmer from home, and it's not something she loves, but it is something she seems to excel at. But where did she learn it? Everyone else in the family went straight into menial work, either at a cafe or doing a clown tow truck service, according to Natasha's behind-the-scene artwork. The only other person on the show who seems to also be able to program is Bee's dad. It would appear that he built Bee and would likely have to program her to some degree, and we know for a fact that he designed most of the video games at the arcade, presumably programming them as well. With them seemingly living in the same building, it is possible that she learned programming from him, and maybe even assisted in helping to program Bee. This may be why she's so cautious of Bee and tries to help Deckard keep a distance from her. She already knew the truth about her, but didn't feel it was her place to expose Bee's mechanical nature to him. Theory 10. Was Cardamon's mom a space pirate like Puppycat? One of the most common theories out there is that Cardamon's mother is actually the space princess, but other than having very long hair, she doesn't seem to have a lot in common with her. Instead, she seems to have a lot more in common with this new character we discussed in the earlier theory, who appears to be another pirate on Puppycat's ship. In the character sheet for the crew, we can see a very familiar looking item around her waist, a glass bottle with a strange purple substance. Most people probably recognize it as the same glass bottle that's around the neck of Cardamon's mother. This Lady Space Pirate's design differs from one image to the next, with her skin being purple and her hair pink in one image, but in what appears to be the more official character sheet, she has darker brown skin like Cardamon's mother does, as well as similarly shaded purple hair, albeit much shorter. She tells the story of a princess lost at sea who gets picked up by an octopus who drops her off on her home island, and it's very possible that this story is just a metaphor for her love for the space pirate, who she believed died when he ran off to be with the space princess but was ambushed by the king's warlocks. That's all I have for you guys today, but make sure to subscribe for more Bee and Puppycat content as well as other cartoons we'll be covering here on Cartoon Universe. See you next time!